guys, so today I want to tell you a little bit about pumping at work, and I want to show you my bag that I take and all the stuff that I bring with me. I want to tell you a little bit about my experience so far. I've been back to work for about a month and a half and my supply is doing wonderfully, thank goodness. So I just want to share a little bit of some of my tips for you guys, just in case you're struggling with pumping at work, if you want to learn a couple new things or you haven't returned back to work yet and you just want to know kind of the situation you're getting yourself into when you're going back. So let's hop right in and I'll tell you guys a little bit about how my experience has been going so far. So I do want to mention right off the bat kind of my workplace scenario, just to kind of help familiarize you guys with what I'm dealing with. I work in an office where there's really only like 4 or 5 of us inside. We have like outside guys and stuff too, but I'm the only chick. So that can kind of be like helpful and hurtful in this situation. Kind of helpful because they kind of want to avoid the subject. They don't really ask me much about it, but also that kind of sucks too because they don't really understand. You know, I have to pump in order to keep my supply up so that I'm with my baby, he can feed from me, you know? Like, there's a lot of different reasons why I chose to continue pumping and continue breastfeeding while I go back to work, but pumping at work, the number one thing is I have to pump every few hours just so I can feed him every few hours when I'm with him outside of work, right? So my number one thing is to keep my supply up while I'm at work. And guys really don't get that. They really have no idea. Even though they have wives, they have young kids, you know, they really don't understand how the whole breast milk supply thing works. So we don't really have offices. We're kind of all out in the open. Only the big guy has an office. And then we have a couple offices in the back that are kind of used for meetings and stuff like that. So I'm very fortunate to be able to use those back offices when no one else is using them. I haven't had to pump in the bathroom yet, so thank goodness. And it's really been a very smooth, very nice experience so far. However, summertime is our busy season and I came back right in the middle of it, and it can be very difficult to find the time to pump. And my number one tip to you guys is do not skip a pumping session. Once you skip once, you might be tempted to skip twice and it could become a habit and your milk supply is going to diminish from there. So don't even think about it. Even if you're so busy, crazy, can't even think about pumping, please try to find the time to go and pump. Even if it's only for, you know, 5-10 minute session, at least try, because the more you skip, the more you're going to let yourself skip, and it's just a terrible cycle and a terrible pattern to get into. And I can totally attest to that. A couple weeks ago, we were kind of short a guy in the office and everything was just really crazy busy, and I was skipping pumping, like I was only pumping twice a day instead of 3 times a day, and I totally saw it affecting my milk supply. I could definitely see that I was pumping a lot less than I usually do, even once I started back pumping like usual. So it totally happens. Not a good thing to get into. Really don't even try it. Don't even skip a pump. Don't do it. Don't skip it. So I personally am away from Calvin, from my baby, for 11 to 12 hours a day, and 3 pumping sessions per day has been working out beautifully for us. It's the perfect little number for my milk supply. I usually pump around 8 in the morning, 11, and then like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's typically what I try to shoot for. Now, I did start up quite the supply while I was on maternity leave. I had quite the freezer stash before I even returned to work, but being a first-time mom, I made a lot of mistakes in what I was doing as far as pumping and breastfeeding and how that all worked. I would not recommend what I did. The tip that I would give you is if you're still on maternity leave, I would pump in the morning sometime when baby's taking a nap or something. Try to find the time to pump in the morning because you make the most milk in the morning and you should take advantage of that. And then I always liked to pump before bed because it just made me feel more comfortable. You know, I was fully drained if like baby didn't completely drain my breasts, so that it was easier to fall asleep and easier to lay how I wanted to lay, and my big, you know, engorgement wasn't an issue if I pumped right before bed. So now, so far I haven't had an issue with losing supply since I've gone back to work. I pump pretty much exactly what he's taking while I'm gone. He usually takes 14 to 15 ounces depending on what grandma he's with, because one grandma has him a couple extra hours and the other doesn't. So I'm usually pumping right at like the 15 ounce mark every day, and as long as I am consistent in pumping 3 times per day, I'm right at that mark, maybe a little bit over. So I've been very lucky to keep my supply exactly what he needs. So I didn't really need that freezer stash, but it does make me feel good to have that backup, right? So let me show you guys my pumping bag. My mother actually made this for me, so you can't find this on the internet. She probably based it off of a couple things that she had seen on Pinterest or whatever, but this is kind of a unique little setup here, but I thought I would show you guys anyway. Okay, so first of all, I take, what is this? This is even like an old school cloth diaper, just like a plain old piece of fabric here. So I have that and I lay it down on my lap when I take off the flanges and stuff like that, just in case there's any driblets of milk or anything. This is going to catch it and it's not going to land on my outfit of the day. And I also use this to wipe down the flanges especially. So this is the little bag that I have my bottles and the flanges in. So I have bottle, and the flanges, and I do like to use the little cloth to kind of wipe these down because, you know, the milk is kind of all over, you know, it's down in there, it's going to drip all over the place if I don't wipe it up somehow. So I use this to clean up any kind of little milk messes that there could be. When I pump the first 2 times during the day, I put these back in the bag with the little, you know, the little milk residue that's in there. I put them back in here and put them in a fridge. If you don't have a fridge at work, this could be an issue. You might have to do something different, but we have a fridge in our break room, so I use it. This still has, you know, when I've done with my first couple pumpings, this still has a little bit of milk in there, and I don't want to just throw it in a bag or something because it's not going to stay fresh. When it's in the fridge, it stays fresh and it's not harmful to pump right back into the bottle, if that makes sense. So after the first 2 pumpings, I put these back in the fridge and take them out when it's time to pump. At the end of the day, when I'm done pumping for the day, I will just simply rinse these. I don't really clean them. I just kind of rinse them in order to get home with them. And then once I'm home, I actually give them a real bath. So instead of washing these after every single time I pump, I just store them in the fridge so that the milk residue inside them stays good. It doesn't go sour and ruin the next milk that's coming into the bottles. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I feel like this is kind of difficult to explain or describe to you guys, but I always wipe these down with that little cloth that I have because otherwise these are just gonna drip everywhere inside of this bag and make it sticky and yucky, and you don't want that. So I use the little cloth to wipe these. Another tip, if you haven't been doing this, is to use the flange as a funnel inside of the little plastic milk storage bags. I don't just use the bottles. I use the bottles just to pump into, and then I pour these into the plastic bags while I'm at work so I don't have to do it once I get home. And then my mom made me this little like container zipper kind of guy so that I can actually just put those bags straight into here. So this is all nice and thick and insulated, so if I have to, you know, like stop and get something on the way home from work for 5 or 10 minutes, you know, this is at least keeping it cool enough to make it till I get home. So this is like the perfect size for those little flat lying plastic bags. I use the Up and Up brand just because they're affordable and I find that they work really well. I was going to use the Lansinoh brand, but I read a lot of reviews that said that they were really crappily made this time around. Like previously they had been really good, but they've changed their packaging and they're no good anymore. So after I read the reviews on those, I bought a box and then I read the reviews, and I don't even want to try it because I'm like so afraid that my milk's going to get ruined. So I just stick with the Up and Up brand. They've been working well. I haven't had any issues at all with leaking or any kind of mess ups or anything like that. So good to go on the Up and Up brand. Then I have another little baggie in here just for random stuff. So I have a few extra pump parts just in case something goes wrong and I need to fix it on the spot. I also have these little Binky safe wipes. They do make like a Medela brand for wiping down your stuff, just in case I'm in a pinch. I don't know, in case I take this somewhere that don't have a sink or something to wipe everything down with. I can use these like little sanitizing wipes just in case. You know how it is. I have a little Sharpie and the Up and Up brand little plastic bags for storage. I use the Sharpie to write on the bags the date and time and all that kind of stuff. I have 2 extra caps for those bottles just in case I like run out of those bags or I forgot the bags or something bad happens. I at least have these to cap up those bottles and make it till I get home. I also have the Lansinoh Nipple Cream stuff. I use this first thing in the morning, my first pump. I use this and then I skip for the next couple pumps because it's so thick that it kind of leaves a residue, you know? I don't know, since the beginning I've been using this when I pump, and I think it's been helping me a little bit. I don't really use a nipple cream when I'm nursing or anything like that. I just use it on those days that I pump and it works so far. And then I also have a couple backup nursing pads just in case, you know, what if the pump breaks or something and I know I'm gonna have a terrible day and can't pump, I'm gonna need these nursing pads. So those are just a just in case kind of thing hanging out in there. So that stuff all fits inside of this little bag, which Mom also made me. Next I have a hands-free nursing bra thing. This was the cheapest one that I found on like Amazon or whatever. It's from Simple Wishes, and this is the extra small to large size. So it's a very large range because it has a tie in the back, so you can make it whatever size you need it to be. I would, if you're not gonna buy anything else for nursing at work, buy yourself a freaking hands-free nursing bra, because best invention ever, seriously. And then all that's left is my actual pump. Mom made a little door for it, and I've got a little side pocket for the cord, power cord and whatnot. You know how it goes, just unzip it, you've got the little pump, all that good stuff. Good to go. It's down at the bottom. She made a little kind of like a hard bottom on it so that it doesn't get all funky and misformed and whatnot. But inside here, I just kind of curl up the tubing and just like shut it in there. And another tip for the tubing, at the end of the day, at my very last pump, while I'm cleaning everything up and whatnot, I turn my pump on high and just let the tubing just, you know, let the air breathe through it and suck up, you know, get rid of any kind of moisture that's stuck in there so that it doesn't create mold or anything in the tubing. If you just let your pump run for a couple of minutes, it'll get all the little bits of moisture that might be down at the edge of the tubing, like the very end part of the tubing that plugs into, you know, the flanges and all the junk and whatnot. So if you just let the pump go for a while, it'll get rid of that stuff. Just a little extra tip that I've been doing at the end of the day every day. And like I said, I work with a bunch of dudes, and dudes are weird, as we all know. So my stuff is always covered in the fridge. You never actually see it if you're not looking to look for the milk. So I haven't had any strange comments from anybody, but if you're worried about that, maybe just invest in some kind of little packaging that you want to put your stuff in so that nobody actually physically sees the booby milk. I mean, some people might freak out about it, but you can avoid that if you just put it in some other containers so nobody has to worry about it. Now lastly, I do want to talk a little bit about relaxing while you're pumping. They say that it makes a really big difference in how many letdowns you can get, or how easily you can let down, and how much milk you're going to get in the end. So finding a place where you can really relax is probably the #1 key I have for you guys. Like I said, I'm very lucky to have 2 pretty much empty offices that I have advantage of at work. You definitely want to find a room with a lock. That will help you relax a lot, just knowing that you've got that protection just in case. And even if you do have a room with a lock, I like to face away from the door so that if someone does happen to come in, they're seeing my back, not all this going on. That makes me feel a lot more comfortable too. Make yourself a little door sign, even if it's just a crappy handmade, you know, little post-it note or something. Put it on the door when you're using the room. Mine's kind of humorous. Mine says, "Do not disturb, or else this will be mortifying for all parties involved." The guys know what I'm doing back there, but you know, that's just kind of, you know, kind of making it a little more humorous. You know, it's not such a serious matter. Let's just kind of laugh it off. Let's not get too worked up about this, you know. So mine's kind of a little bit humorous. It just kind of lightens things up. Another tip would be to store as many pictures and videos of your baby as you can on your phone. It definitely does help with letdown. If you can watch him or hear him, especially, I really love the videos where you can, like, he's like trying to talk to you and stuff. And I even store like pictures of him nursing so that I have, you know, it just kind of helps to, it just helps with the letdown. It just makes things a lot easier. And I try to go for a couple of letdowns while I'm at work. I found that the first week back, letdown was a little difficult. I had to take a little extra time to get it to finally come, and it was just awkward and different and just kind of strange. And if you weren't, you know, pumping while you were on maternity leave, if your first experience pumping is at work, I would really recommend you try it out and at least practice a little bit while you're at home, because you don't want to go right to this strange place where you haven't, you know, flaunted your boobies everywhere and you just are not familiar with, away from your baby. You don't want to be trying to mess with the pump for the first time when you're in that situation. Another tip I would say is to wear nursing like friendly clothes. Like we don't really have a uniform, but we just wear like t-shirts to work, and so I always wear a tank top that's nursing friendly underneath so that like my bottom half is covered. Like I don't just have my shirt up here and then it's all belly everywhere else, you know, so I'm still mostly covered. Makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. If the inevitable, you know, the scary, terrible thing, somebody's gonna come in and see you, at least you're mostly covered, right? So I think that is about it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's today's video. I hope it was a little bit helpful for you. If you want to read more about it, I will have a link to my blog post down below. I might have a couple more things on there than what I talked to you guys about here today. But overall, it's not as scary as it seems. At least my experience hasn't been. I have been so incredibly thankful and fortunate and lucky to have such a good pumping experience going back to work, because if you guys have been watching my videos, you know that me and Calvin struggled quite a bit at the beginning of our breastfeeding experience. So to have pumping going well for me is really just makes me so giddy and happy, and I'm really, really glad that it's all working out in the end. Breastfeeding has been quite the journey, quite the struggle for me and my little baby boy. He's 3.5 months right now, and I'm just so glad to have gotten through that and to continue to keep doing it. Like, I don't even know what it's gonna be like when we stop. Like, I don't ever wanna stop. Like, seriously, like, I've worked so hard to get my supply to do what I needed to do to, you know, get him to latch and to get everything to work perfectly. I've worked so hard to make everything work. I don't want to give it up anytime soon. So I hope that my milk supply continues to be good and behaves and lets us continue breastfeeding for as long as we both want to. So I wish you guys the very, very best in your pumping experiences at work. I hope that all of you are having a great time with your little babies, whether you're still on maternity leave or if you have already gone back to work. I just really hope that each and every one of you takes a little bit of something from this video and it was somewhat helpful for you. Some kind of tip, some kind of something, some kind of encouragement or anything, because I just love it. I just love, breastfeeding is like the coolest thing ever, and I hope that everybody gets to have such a great experience with it. Seriously, I really, really do. So I really do wish and hope you guys the very best in your pumping experiences. I hope that going back to work is not a scary thing for you, that you get a little bit of practice beforehand, and I really hope that your work environment is very supportive of your pumping and your lifestyle and all that kind of stuff. I hope that you and your babies are doing awesome. Let me know what other kind of videos you guys want to see next on this channel, and I'll talk to you guys really soon. Bye!